Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are in this world. God bless you. Today we're continuing in the book of 2 Samuel in the Old Testament, in the King James Version of the Holy Bible, and we are in chapter 4. Now, in chapter 4 here, it's going to give us some information regarding the final chapter, which was chapter 31 in the book of 1 Samuel, and the discrepancy in what is told in the first chapter in 2 Samuel, where it talks about the guy that brought David the crown, the Amalekite, who brought David the crown of King Saul and his bracelet, and said that he had fallen on Saul. And I thought that he was lying and that he was just seeking to get a reward. But instead, David took his life for him saying with his own words that he killed God's anointed. And David said, "Your blood be on your head." Now, here in chapter 4, we're going to read in verse 10 confirmation of that. Now, here we are in chapter 4. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had 2 men that were captains of bands. The name of the one was Baanah, the name of the other Rechab, the sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite, of the children of Benjamin. And here in parenthesis it says, for Beeroth was also reckoned or considered part of the tribe of Benjamin. And the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth, or Meribbaal is another way to say it. And the sons of Rimmon, of Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who is Saul's son, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came thither into the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat, and they smote him under the 5th rib. And Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. For when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber, and they smote him and slew him, and beheaded him, and took his head, and gat them away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron, and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth the son of Saul thy enemy, which sought thy life. And the Lord hath avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and of his seed. And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, and said unto them, As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of all adversary or adversity. When one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him, and slew him in Ziklag, who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. So there in verse 10, the one I just read, that confirms that the guy that came, the Amalekite, that brought the crown and the bracelet of Saul to David was seeking a reward and a liar. Verse 11, and David knew it. Verse 11, how much more, when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed, shall I not therefore now require his blood of your hand, or the bloodshed of your hand, and take you away from the earth, or consume you? And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, and cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up over the pool in Hebron. And they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. King David now is not about being vengeful. And he respected the Lord, that he had anointed Saul as king, and he respected his children. And later on we'll see that David's going to take in Jonathan's son and care for him all his life at the king's table. But David, God could see in his heart. He had a heart like the Lord, and God loved him so much. And I just love reading about him. He was a just man, but he was a man nonetheless, and he did fall, but he repented. And God punished him for his sin. But I know when we get to heaven, we'll meet King David. I think that'll be really cool. So now we'll go on to our New Jerusalem Holy Bible, and I will make that the next video. So I hope you follow over to that one. And as always, I love you.